5 things men should never do after 70. Most men don't realize this. What you keep doing after 70 could be exactly what's pushing you closer to the hospital or even the grave. I found out the hard way. And by then, it almost cost me everything. You see, no one warns you that your strength doesn't just fade, it slips away quietly, one missed step at a time. You don't feel it right away. You still carry your groceries. You still open jars. But then one morning, you try to get up from a chair, and your knees hesitate. You reach for the counter, and your hands tremble. And that's when it hits you, you're not losing strength. You've been losing it for years, and now it's almost gone. It's called sarcopenia, and it begins as early as your 60s. But after 70, it accelerates. Men can lose up to 1% of their muscle mass every year. By 80, many have lost 30 to 50%. And that's not just about looking weaker. That's about falling in the shower, struggling to get out of bed, needing help just to get dressed. But here's the truth. They don't tell you in doctors' offices you can rebuild it. Not with fancy machines, not with pills, but with simple body weight movements just 5 minutes a day. That's what I wish someone told me when I hit 70. If this message means something to you, hit the subscribe button. Your support helps me keep making videos that speak to the heart of our generation. Now let me ask you something which feels more terrifying to you. A. Losing strength slowly and silently until you can't get up. B. Making small daily changes that feel awkward at first, but save your independence. Comment A or B below and be honest with yourself, because what's coming next might just change how you see the rest of your life. They say growing old is natural, but no one tells you how unnatural it feels to watch your own body hesitate, how it silently stops responding the way it used to. After 70, it's not about vanity. It's about function. Muscle isn't just for lifting, it's for standing, walking, living on your own terms. Yet far too many men ignore the loss until it robs them of something they took for granted: independence. The medical term is sarcopenia, but that word doesn't hit you like the moment you realize you can't carry your own laundry basket upstairs, or when you need both hands to rise from the couch. That's not just weakness, it's your body waving a red flag. Studies from Harvard and the CDC confirm muscle loss in men over 70 is one of the leading predictors of falls, hospitalizations, and loss of daily function. But here's the shocking part: most of it is preventable. Not by lifting heavy weights or joining a gym, but by engaging the muscles you already have. Daily. 5 to 10 minutes of intentional movement each day can change your trajectory. Start with bodyweight squats while holding onto the sink. Try rising from a chair without using your hands 3 times in a row. Do wall push-ups or leg raises beside the bed. It's not about breaking a sweat. It's about sending a signal to your body that you still need it. The beauty of this stage of life is that you no longer have to chase performance, you just have to protect what matters. And movement is medicine. It keeps your joints lubricated, your balance sharper, and your blood flowing. But more than that, it protects your dignity. Because I know how painful it is to rely on someone else just to get dressed. I know how it stings to ask for help, just to step into the shower. That's not weakness. That's what happens when we stay still for too long and expect the body to forgive us. So if you've been sitting too much, putting it off, thinking you'll start next week, don't start today. Move your body like your future depends on it, because it does. You don't need perfect form. You don't need a trainer. You just need the willingness to show up even when it feels small. What you do in these next few years will decide how you live the rest of them. That's not fear, it's freedom, because it means the power is still in your hands. The older we get, the more society tells us to slow down, step back, and let the younger ones take over. But what they don't tell you is this: when you stop challenging your mind, your world starts shrinking long before your body does. After 70, it's not uncommon to forget where you left the keys or repeat a story you've already told. But these aren't just signs of age. They're warning signs that the brain is asking for more stimulation. And ignoring that need is a slow surrender. Cognitive decline doesn't strike overnight. It sneaks in quietly when routines become rigid and curiosity dies out. Your brain is like a muscle. It needs resistance, novelty, and engagement to stay strong. And no, you don't need to go back to school or solve calculus problems. You simply need to keep it working. Reading for 15 minutes a day, doing puzzles, learning a few words in another language, writing down your thoughts, having deep conversations. These aren't small acts, they're brain training. Research from the Mayo Clinic shows that older adults who engage in mentally stimulating activities have a 23% lower risk of developing dementia. That's not just a statistic. That's a future you can shape. You can rewire your brain even at 80. Neuroplasticity doesn't disappear with age. It just needs a reason to show up. And every new habit, every unfamiliar challenge you embrace tells your brain, I'm still here. I still matter. So ask yourself, when was the last time you did something for the first time? Your identity is not your age. Your relevance is not your retirement date. And your value doesn't disappear because you turned 75. A curious mind is a living mind. And if you want to keep showing up fully sharp, engaged, and joyful, then never stop learning. It's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about refusing to fade into silence. You've still got something to say, and the world still needs to hear it. There's a quiet belief many of us grew up with. Real men don't cry. We were taught to hold it and push through, be the strong one. And for a while, maybe that served us. But after 70, that silence becomes heavier. And what we once called strength begins to work against us. Because here's the truth. Unspoken emotions don't disappear. They settle in your chest, in your blood pressure, in your sleep, in the tension you feel for no clear reason. And eventually, the weight of what we never say can do more harm than the worst injury. Studies now show that older men who suppress grief, anxiety, or loneliness are at significantly higher risk for heart disease, stroke, memory loss, and depression. Not because emotions make us weak, but because bottling them up turns the body into a pressure cooker. You don't need to spill your heart to strangers, but you do need an outlet. Maybe it's writing down the thoughts you don't say out loud. Maybe it's telling a friend that you miss your wife, or admitting to yourself that you're scared of being forgotten. Letting those words exist doesn't make you fragile. It makes you free. Too many older men confuse emotional honesty with surrender. But vulnerability at this stage of life isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It says, I've lived long enough to know what hurts, and I'm brave enough to speak it. Connection starts where truth begins. And if you've been walking around with a locked heart and a quiet ache, know this, it's never too late to open the door. Sometimes the most healing thing we can say is something simple. This is hard. You'd be surprised how many men around you feel the same, but are waiting for someone else to say it first. So don't bury what you feel. Don't pretend it doesn't matter. Let it breathe just enough to remind yourself you're still human. And that's more than enough. The truth is, your plate can either keep you young or quietly speed up your decline. And after 70, eating like you did at 40 is no longer a sign of pride. It's a risk you can't afford. Our bodies change in ways we rarely talk about. Digestion slows. Our sense of thirst weakens. We absorb nutrients less efficiently. And yet many men keep the same habits they've had for decades. Red meat at every dinner, salty snacks on the recliner coffee before water in the morning, and very few vegetables unless someone else serves them. But here's the cost. High blood pressure, aching joints, weight gain in places that strain your back and knees. Worse, your cells become inflamed. Your immune system falters, and recovery from even the smallest illness takes twice as long. It's not about dieting. It's about adapting, respecting the stage of life you're in. Just like your car needs different oil after 100,000 miles, your body needs different fuel at 70. You don't need to become a health fanatic, but you do need to become intentional. Start simple. Half your plate should be vegetables, broccoli, spinach, carrots. Switch red meat for fatty fish like salmon once or twice a week. Add fiber oats, beans, whole grains. Drink at least 6 to 8 cups of water daily, even if you don't feel thirsty. And pay attention to what your body tells you. That afternoon fatigue might be blood sugar crashing from that white bread sandwich. That stiffness in your hands could be inflammation from processed food. What you eat isn't just about today. It's about who you'll be 5 years from now. Will you still be walking your own groceries in? Still getting out of bed without groaning? Still sharp enough to enjoy a good book? There's no single perfect diet for older men. But there is one guarantee: if you eat like your younger self, you will age like someone who stopped paying attention. Choose the version of you that wants to keep showing up fully alive, not just surviving, but thriving. Food is not just pleasure, it's power. Use it wisely. You can be surrounded by people and still feel invisible. You can have children, neighbors, even a spouse, and still feel like no one really sees you anymore. That's the kind of loneliness that creeps in after 70. Not just the absence of people, but the absence of connection. The danger isn't just emotional, it's physical. The CDC confirms that social isolation in older adults increases the risk of premature death as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Let that sink in. Being alone too often can literally shorten your life. But isolation rarely starts loudly. It begins with a canceled lunch, a phone call you put off a friend who moved away. Then one day, you realize the phone hasn't rung in weeks. Your world gets smaller, and your voice gets quieter. And that silence can be cruel. You lose not only others, but parts of yourself. Your humor fades without someone to laugh with. Your memories blur without someone to share them with. And your sense of worth slowly erodes when no one asks how your day was. But here's the part many men overlook. Connection doesn't always come to you, you have to go to it. Join a group, any group. A walking club, a church, circle, a volunteer kitchen. It doesn't matter how small the topic, as long as it puts you in a room where someone says your name out loud. Call an old friend, send a birthday card, ask your grandson about his favorite song. Comment on this video. Yes, right here, right now. Say hello. Tell us where you're from. Because someone else reading the comments may be looking for a sign that they're not alone either. You're not meant to go through this life unseen. And even now, especially now, your presence matters. It's not too late to reconnect. It's not too late to be remembered. But it starts with a choice to reach out, even if your hands shake. Because the moment you let yourself be known is the moment you remember you still belong. After everything we've talked about today, one truth rises above the rest. Aging isn't what steals our strength. It's what we choose to ignore that does. No man loses his vitality in one night. It slips away slowly through habits. We no longer question feelings. We no longer express meals we no longer think about, and connections we stop reaching for. And yet the moment we begin to notice is also the moment we can begin again. That's the quiet power of this season of life. Not to hold on to the past, but to live the present with more clarity, more honesty, and more courage than ever before. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to go back and fix every mistake. You just need to take one simple step today that your future self will thank you for. Stretch your legs before you sit down. Drink a full glass of water when you wake up. Write down one thing that's been weighing on your chest. Call someone you miss. Eat a handful of blueberries instead of a bag of chips. Say something real in a comment section. These are small acts, but they are acts of rebellion against decline, against silence, against the idea that we're no longer becoming someone, because we are. And if you remember nothing else from this video, let it be this. The choices you make at 70, 75, or 85 are not less powerful, they're more powerful because they shape how much life you still get to live on your own terms. So here's my question for you. What's one habit you know you need to change, but you've been putting off? Share it in the comments. You might inspire someone else to do the same. If this message meant something to you today, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe. It helps this channel grow and reminds me that these conversations matter. And if you'd like to support future content like this, feel free to donate what feels right to you. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Until next time, take care of your body, protect your mind, and stay connected to what truly makes you feel alive.